Welcome back to Immersive Reactions. Today, I wanted to do, in the spirit of a video series I was doing earlier on the channel, which is map breakdowns. I am doing specifically a rewrite of the Battle of the Bastards as I would write it. Here are the rules. Everyone who dies in the battle will still die. Everything that happens at the end of the battle will still happen. I'm going to change how the narrative is structured to make the Vale intro a little more suspenseful. I'm going to make Jon Snow a little bit more level-headed when it comes to the Rickon situation. Rickon doesn't survive. Things that would change the whole story. Like, Rickon surviving would mean that there'd be an heir to Winterfell and Jon wouldn't be the one. We're starting right at the beginning of the battle. The Vale is on its way. All of the terrain, I've matched the terrain to the correct areas. We'll start off with Littlefinger though. Littlefinger is traveling with Sansa, has told Jon that she is going to retrieve the Knights of the Vale to come and help them. When she left, they were pretty far out. Jon, not wanting to spend any time to sacrifice Rickon, has decided to get on the field despite the Vale not being there. In the morning of the Battle of the Bastards, Littlefinger and the host of the Vale crosses the White Knife. This is immediately picked up by Bolton's scouts, and the scouts go to Winterfell the morning of the muster of Ramsay and tell him that a host of the Vale is on its way. This makes Ramsay pause. He does not want to be on the field, the Knights of the Vale. During that morning, he convenes with his Small John Umber about if they even should leave Winterfell at all. Because the Knights of the Vale are coming, putting their troops on the field right now would not be the best option. They should stay in Winterfell. Petyr Baelish has already decided this for Ramsay. A stroke of deception known to Petyr Baelish, he sends his scouts out to parley, give a message to the Bolton scouts to bring the Ramsay himself. Sansa is hidden within the Vale force. The scouts do not see her. Bolton scouts race back to Winterfell with the news that they have just received. Ramsay discovers that Petyr Baelish is coming to his aid to help fight against the Starks to keep Winterfell for the Boltons, as decreed by Cersei Lannister directly. Petyr Baelish had direct orders from the Queen to help the Boltons fight against the Starks. Ramsay believes this, fully invests in this idea. He leads them out of Winterfell. Jon Snow is butted up against a grove of trees for defense. He has most of his archers half on a hill on the right side of the battlefield. The lines are spread out, so the infantry is in front and the archers are in back. There are light horsemen up on the hill with a small group of knights who join Jon Snow mounted in the middle. One has a big shield, a helmet, and a claymore, a two-handed sword. He has a very good weapon and a very good shield to defend himself and others around him from getting attacked. Tormund is on Jon's left with the bulk of the wildlings. Sir Davos is commanding the archers who stand in the back. Ramsay's tactics are going to be exactly the same. Jon Snow is not going to underestimate Ramsay Bolton. He's going to listen to Sansa and not fall into the trap. Rickon is displayed for Jon Snow that he's alive, and he stands there. He doesn't immediately send him away. Ramsay knows that the Vale Knights are coming. He would rather sacrifice them against the Starks. So in Ramsay's lineup, we have the archers in front, we have the swordsmen back, a contingent of knights, spears on the left, light and heavy cavalry on both sides, and the phalanx of Small John Umber are stacked next to the right side of the cavalry. A picket, a small group of people who go out ahead of a force on a battlefield, and they go stand out there to observe enemy movements or wait for an enemy to arrive. Bolton scouts saw the Vale Knights coming. Now, without Littlefinger's assurances, because he knows the Vale Knights are going to be seen before they get there, Petyr Baelish's way to obscure their movements is to tell the scouts and to tell Ramsay he's coming to assist him. And for the reasons that Littlefinger writes in the parchment, Ramsay believes him, not knowing that Littlefinger will betray him. The scouts are up on the hills, observing movements of the enemy. Jon Snow also has some wildlings in the forest behind to keep watch. This is important. Jon is smart by putting his forces up against the forest to begin with, so someone can't come at them fast and all at once. They have to go through the forest. But also, Jon puts more forces in the woods. He's not blindsided from behind, because this is life or death. You want minimal loss of life. He knows the army of the dead is coming. When he sees Rickon come to the field with Ramsay, he does not immediately go to get him. Rickon might die, but he can't sacrifice himself or his forces. After Ramsay has waited for quite a while, he decides to play his game, yells out to Jon Snow. Rickon takes off across the field, intentionally misses his shots with his bow. Jon Snow and the contingent of knights on horseback ride in an orderly fashion with great haste. Rickon is bobbing and weaving, moving around, zigzagging, not going in a straight line. That does not save him. Rickon gets shot in the back with an arrow and falls just 100 yards. Jon dismounts and picks him up and puts him on horseback, and they ride them, bleeding out from the arrow, ride back to their line to attempt to save him. He pulls Rickon off the horse and sets him onto the ground. They don't have a maester, but as Jon can clearly see, it looks like Rickon has died. Jon, being pretty enraged at this point, commands his force to push forwards, slowly but steady, across the field. He has his light cavalry do a number of feints against the Bolton forces as they loose their arrows at the cavalry, but the cavalry are too mobile. The arrows do not hit them in time. A feint is a fake charge. It's when horses fake an attack. They'll go towards the enemy, but then go away from them. So the horses are drawing the arrows. They're drawing the fire. They're just charging and then walking back, charging and then walking back, avoiding the arrow shots. Obviously, they take a few casualties from this. Jon Snow is hell-bent on draining as many of the Bolton arrows as possible. He knows Boltons rely on their archers, so they're using their horses in a reserved nature. Ramsay understands this, and he sends out his horses as well to push them back. The Starks turn to loose arrows on their horses. The horses on the left of Ramsay are feinting each other, but the right side is an all-out battle between the two light horsemen. As Jon moves up, his archers are getting closer to being able to hit the Bolton front line. Jon knows this, so he stops. He's off the hill now. He's a little further away from the woods, so it would be harder for him to retreat. There is little protection here. His small palisades and stakes that he set up are now behind them. It's a good position to retreat to, but both their behind, front, left, and right are all exposed to flanks. Ramsay knows this. He sends out his second group of armored knights, cause disorder among the Stark troops. He does the same with the left side knights. They try to push the skirmisher horses away from their lines and back towards the Stark lines. Jon Snow sees that the armored horses are about to crash into his light horses that are engaged with him, so he blows a horn and orders the horses to retreat. At the same time, he orders Sir Davos to launch an all-out barrage on top of where the battle was happening just before. So as the armored knights come into the picture, there is a hail of arrows coming down upon the light and heavy cavalry of the Boltons. During this time, Ramsay coordinating with his left side cavalry to do a flank into the right side of Jon Snow's forces. Jon Snow anticipated this morning writing up the battle plans and has positioned all of the wildling spearmen on that side to defend against horse charges. Tormund and the spearmen take positions and get into a spear formation. The spears completely deter men from charging directly in. They feint and they come back to an acceptable distance. Before that happens, Jon Snow orders the archer to switch fire and start attacking the retreating knights. Jon Snow is massively outnumbered, but he is doing an excellent job in repelling the forces of the Boltons. He's pushed back an insane amount of cavalry compared to his. He's held a strong position below the hills in front of his field defenses that the Knights of the Vale are on the way. He is trying to stall as long as possible, but not giving the advantage to the Boltons or make any movements that he doesn't want them to make. Jon took the advantage and put himself closer, which drew in the cavalry of the Boltons to have Ramsay focus so much on the two groups of cavalry that Jon is winding down the clock. He knows the Knights of the Vale are coming. Ramsay believes they're coming for him. The furthest thing from his mind currently is that the Knights of the Vale are going to betray him. Littlefinger is about an hour away. He's actually being accompanied by a small group of Bolton scouts that has joined them on their way to the battlefield. Around this time, Littlefinger gives the order for his troops to slaughter the Bolton scouts. They surround them and they run them down and get every single one. No news will get to Ramsay. He is being betrayed by any of these scouts. Cavalry has retreated from their melees and their skirmishes with the Stark line. He orders all of his cavalry to the left. Ramsay, frustrated with the failure of his cavalry, a plan to use the horses heavily on the left side. They're going to feint the spearmen and then take the rest around to attack the archers in the back of the Stark swords from behind. With the rest of their force, they are going to push the Stark troops back, denying them their defenses and hopefully push them to the hill. Jon, seeing what is about to happen to him, pushes back to the hill. He puts his archers on the very top. To his right, he puts Tormund in very tight formations to guard against the horses, to the cavalry, and he uses the remainder of his cavalry to skirmish as much as possible with the larger force of cavalry the Boltons have. Ramsay is shaking his head. He's done everything he possibly can to this point to avoid losing forces to Jon Snow and being a humiliation to this much smaller force. Jon Snow is outmatching him in every step. Small John Umber being furious with this situation and the slow speed at which Ramsay is advancing towards the hill, starts to lose his patience with Ramsay and demands that they take a full assault onto the hill, deal with the horses, and use those horses to attack Jon Snow directly, to charge him down. Ramsay, completely blown away by this act of defiance by Small John and his general frustration of the entire day, does what Small John wants, and he sends his troops in a steady march across the field to charge the hill. Ramsay tells Small John Umber, take his phalanxes and the swordsmen and march up the hill. He stays behind with a small contingent of knights and the rest of the bowmen and continues to focus his bowmen to fire upon Wan, the biggest threat to them that it seems on the field. The giant is down on one knee. He has the shield in front of him and hundreds of arrows are sticking out of this shield. It's made of a hewn pine that has been nailed together and he's holding it out in front of him. Ramsay is wasting all of his arrows on trying to bring this giant down. The giant has barely been hit. Meanwhile, Jon Snow orders his archer to focus on specifically the right flank of Small John's force approaching them. It is the weakest. It has spearmen and behind those swordsmen, but it does not have the tall tower shields of the phalanx. So he is focusing down the weakest groups to even the odds as much as possible. During this, the heroic effort of the light cavalry of the Starks is holding back double the amount of knights and light horsemen that the Boltons have. Small John Umber stops just short of the giant. His forces are terrified to approach it, and they go ever slower approaching. Small John Umber, knowing that he can't defeat the giant, wraps his phalanx around it and is slowly moving in to surround the giant on all sides. He continues to fire from afar, and as the phalanx gets closer and closer to the giant, Ramsay is unintentionally shooting parts of the phalanx in the back as he continues to lay into the giant, who is not taking a lot of damage because of that shield. As they start to surround them, Boltons are coming up to the top of the hill to try to deal a killing blow on the bowmen. A heroic small group of Bear Island swordsmen are holding back the far side of the hill that Ramsay cannot see. A mixed group of Northmen and wildling fight together with Jon Snow in front to the right of the giant. The knights next to Jon dismount and fight alongside him. Ramsay, being as arrogant as he did not let his go up and fight for him. So his best fighters are standing by his side, watching the melee for the hill. Jon Snow sounds the horn and has his cavalry retreat onto the hill. This surprises Ramsay. He did not expect them to retreat because now all his horses are freed up, attack directly onto the hill as well. So that's what he does. He puts all of his cavalry and charges them directly onto the hill, into the spears, but they get to the lines. Horses crash into the spears, lots of horses go down, lots of spears go down, and Ramsay decides to start firing directly on top of where Jon Snow is with all of his arrows, which is deadly for swordsmen fighting there, and there's a very high concentration of people right now. Jon is in the melee. He is not commanding forces currently. Sir Davos and Tormund signal the horn. A secret force, the force that we talked about before that was guarding their rear, emerges from the forest and attacks the horses from the back surrounding them. This causes panic among the Bolton cavalry, many getting taken down off their horses and slaughtered. Many of them run to escape the field. The day wears on. The two hills become three as the bodies pile up in front of the two hills. There is a third hill of just bodies. Soldiers are fighting on top of the hills. The archers continue to fire, running out of arrows and joining the melee. Arrows are running out, but he does not commit the rest of his archers, and he holds them back, not knowing what to do at this point, watching from a distance, possibilities. And he remembers the Knights of the Vale. He wonders when they're going to arrive, and that's exactly when they did. Over the hill, he notices two horses appear, carrying two flags. He notices the one is the Vale of Arryn, but the other one he cannot recognize. He looks more, and as hundreds of Vale Knights come over the hill, the other flag starts to dawn upon him. It's a flag he hasn't seen in a very long time. House Stark has arrived. A majority of the Knights of the Vale wash over the attackers on the hill, killing Small John Umber and riding down the phalanx and decimate all of his forces committed to the hill. A smaller group of Vale Knights charge Ramsay himself. Ramsay's archers are not mounted. Ramsay retreats without them. Ramsay leaves the Vale Knights to decimate his archers, enters Winterfell's north gate, sealing it behind him, and orders his crossbowmen to sit upon the gatehouse and wait for the Vale Knights to arrive. Tormund and Wan go to the gates of Winterfell, starting the second battle of the bastards at the gatehouse. Wan, using his shield over his head, Knights of the Vale with siege equipment batter down the gate. They shoot unrelenting amounts of bolts from crossbows from the walls on top of the giant, striking him many times from all sides. He cannot use the shield on every side that they're shooting him from. Murder holes, they drop rocks, they drop oil, they drop all sorts of things on top of the giant. But doing his job, they bust through the gate, and a small group of Bolton fight in the narrow gap in the wall right before the courtyard. Ramsay standing behind, loosing arrows over top of his men into as many Vale Knights as he can. The battle lasts another half hour, but in the end, the Knights of the Vale crush the siege defenders. Wan is struck in his eye by Ramsay Bolton coming into the gate and falls to his knees and collapses. Ramsay Bolton says he wants combat against Jon Snow. He looses another arrow. Jon, who moves out of the way and grabs the shield, making his way with his sword in his hand. Jon blocks another arrow from Ramsay, moves closer, sword raised, another arrow blocked, and he walks up to him and he cuts his bow in half. He knocks him to the ground and ready to strike on Ramsay Bolton laying on the ground. Cutting through the noise, he hears his name. It's Sansa. He looks back, throws his sword to the side, and beats Ramsay is restrained in the kennels. Sansa delivers the finishing blow and has his own hounds devour him. Strategic things that I just wanted to give Jon a little more credit. Jon would have gone out to help Rickon. I don't like his character would charge like the Bolton line, thinking that he could take out Ramsay Bolton surrounded by his men. And you also have to think, why not get Rickon back? He might survive, because if Rickon survives, it changes everything. But having him bring him back, thinking I can save him still, I think is more admirable than having him just charge blindly in rage. I would always think for the rest of my life, what if Rickon wasn't dead? What if he didn't die? What if we could have saved him? And so getting him back to their lines is something I would think is more on the priority list than charging down. I would also want to try to save him. So that's what I put in there. And I wanted more back and forth. Looks like Ramsay's winning. Looks like Jon Snow's winning. As the battle goes on, Ramsay is reflecting on kind of his tactics up to this point, and he's not very effective with his troops. He's shooting at targets that he can't hit. He's shooting at his own people in the back unintentionally. Even someone as heartless as Ramsay would not want to kill his own people. They're his source of power. Without them, he doesn't have power. Keeping as much as that as possible. I put it as he was so inept that he was firing into the back of his own people, which makes more sense because Ramsay had one good battle. You can have one good battle against Stannis, who is like the weakest possible thing ever. And Ramsay's good at deception, giving Jon Snow more credit for his battlefield acumen. Jon Snow is trying to tie up his forces, tie up his cavalry on each side, target with his archers specific units that are very vulnerable to arrows. He's not firing directly at the phalanx that have tall tower shields and are advancing slowly. So he's firing at enemies to try to destroy those to even the numbers. He retreats to the hill and it becomes a slog. The mountain of bodies that we see, they're on two hills. So there's one hill in front and one hill behind them. And then another hill of bodies appears during the day as the fighting continues. Surprise attack from the woods breaks some of its cavalry and they retreat. He's not below retreating to save his own life. And that's why he stayed back all of the time. He was terrified of Jon Snow. He did not want to be anywhere near Jon Snow. He kept his best troops with him to defend him, even though he was way far away and shooting at him from a distance. All of the Bolton retainer knights are destroyed, and the battle with the Vale Knights for the gatehouse lasts a while. Even with the giant, it's a small siege. With the giant's help, it takes a lot less time than it would otherwise because they don't have cover. They use the giant shield to cover them as they're dumping rocks and arrows and all sorts of stuff on top of them. And this is where all of the damage is done to Juan. He gets shot a lot of times defending the people trying to break the gate down, which I think is more heroic. I mean, he did a lot in that, but dying defending Northmen for a giant, that's crazy. Sansa gets her kill of Ramsay in the end, where I gave Jon a little more like he was going to actually kill him, cutting his bow in half, like the source of his torment, cutting that in half, breaking that evil so he can never do it again, and then going to attack Ramsay with the sword. And of all people, Sansa calls out to him to prevent him from doing it, not to save his life, but to take it herself. She wanted to be the one to take his life. So yeah, if you enjoyed that, I used to do these a lot. I used to do a lot of breakdowns and map breakdowns and like alternate stuff. That's like the thing I love doing. If you guys didn't know by now, I'm a fantasy writer. I've been writing since I was 11 years old. I've been writing my book that I'm currently writing, the fantasy world that I've been creating since I was 13 years old. And I've been writing it for like 2 decades now. I love writing. I love coming up with like scripts and like it's out of the wheelhouse of what I'm normally doing. Reacting is reacting. Like I don't have to really make a script, write anything. I'm speaking like candidly. But I do like creating like scenarios, like this scenario, that scenario. What if this happened? What if that happened? I try to keep it within reason here. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get something out of it. And as always, thank you for watching Immersive Reactions. Thank you, Jeremiah, Shaquille Relay, and Amanda Sargent for being our top members of the month. Thanks for watching. Check out our breakdown video for more insights. And do not forget to like and subscribe for more reactions. For full uncut content, join us on Patreon. We hope to see you in the next one.